What I want to tell you about real quick is something that's been, where's my mind at? What am I focused on? What are my best things? Well, I'm uh, I'm straight up deep diving into Escape Velocity, which is our course that helps brand new freelancers launch their business. Whether you're looking to get your very first client, or whether you've had some sporadic work and you want to make that a real steady thing. Again, sort of like Megan is a little further down the road, have control of it, right? So I've been working very closely with Rachel Mazza, who is my awesome co-coach in Escape Velocity. And we've been having dialogue, right? Because I always say, and I believe this because it's what I practice, and I don't know a better way, that dialogue is the most important thing a marketer can have. The most valuable thing any marketer, any copywriter, any business owner can have is a dialogue with their audience, with their customers, right? Imagine if I always like to use the analogy of a restaurant, because we all go to a lot of restaurants, up to 3 times a day potentially. Maybe how many times a week do you go to a restaurant, right? Whether it's a diner, fast food, whatever it is. We all know very well how restaurants work well and work crappy. And so think about a restaurant like a family owned place. And when you walk in the door, you know right away, even if it's your first visit to that restaurant, whether the owner is present in the joint or not, right? You can tell by little things that a proud owner will keep up on, right? It'll be clean. The bathrooms will be clean. The staff will be attentive. Things will be up to date and humming along, right? The menu will be updated. The specials will be listed fresh that day. You can see good management, good ownership. When an owner is not present in a business, things tend to tail off. You ever revisit a restaurant that you used to love when the owner was there and all present, and then you come back a few months or maybe a year later, and the owner's like moved on. He's kind of not caring anymore. He hadn't been there in a few months, and you can just tell nobody's plugged in. Everybody's taking it for granted. Things are slow. It shows. And so this is why we got to treat our business like a real business, even in the beginning stages of freelancing, right? We got to keep our stuff tight, and we got to be talking to our customers. We got to be talking to the people who are the most interested, the most vested in our product, the people who walk through the door, essentially. So that can be on social media. My favorite way to do that is through email. And so this week we've been having dialogue. Whenever we're about to go into a promotion period, we want to get into dialogue before we start sending out the promotional material, because for two reasons. One, obviously, it starts everybody's mind thinking together. We want this sort of group think going. And then the offer we're making feels like a very natural progression, not just a blah, 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 blah. And by the way, I don't know if Chris is here, Chris Worskowski. If you guys follow Chris, you should be following Chris, his email breakdowns of the week. I didn't get to read the whole thing yet, but he did one about his what he thinks is the best Black Friday email he's seen from a skin cream company. And I'm excited to read it, because how many horrible Black Friday and Cyber Monday emails did we get bombarded with over the last week, right? Just brutal. Companies that I had no idea I was subscribed to, haven't heard from all year. Don't miss out, blah, 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 blah. And, half the time you're like, I don't even know what that is. Or, wow, 40% off of a thing I'd never even heard of. That's exciting, right? So there's no dialogue. It's just this blah, blah, blah. This is pure whiskers money grab, zero cheese. And so the way to avoid that is to be in constant dialogue with your best prospects, with your customers. And so that's what we've been doing, and that's what I've been thinking about. And man, we did I wrote an email Thursday telling a little bit of my story of how I started in copywriting, and asking other people to share with me their stories. And the amount of replies we got was staggering. It's always amazing. And man, it's just so cool to sit and read dozens and dozens of replies people going deep and talking about their story. Because, it's fascinating to me that we all ended up here, isn't it? Like everybody who's on this call right now, we all have a unique story about how we ended up in this world of direct response marketing, of copywriting, right? Like, no two stories would be exactly alike, right? You don't go, oh, well, I graduated from college and my natural next step was to become a copywriter. Like, that doesn't happen, right? Some crazy thing, probably a love of writing, this glimmer of hope that you could not have to be a part of the workforce, right? And be independent and call your own shots. These are the things that the common DNA factors that we have, but how we ended up here, who told you about copywriting? Like, who was the first person to mention, you love to write, you're good at writing. I bet you would like copywriting. You should check it out. Well, what the hell is that? That little moment, right? I read so many cool stories, like dude who was he was into some information management position at his company. His boss knew that he loved to write. They needed the website rewritten, and he came to dude and said, "Hey, I know you love to write. We need our website rewritten. Do you want to do it? I'll give you cash on the side to do it." And he's like, well, that sounds good. Writing, getting paid. It didn't know what copywriting was. Had never heard of it. So totally dove in head first, started reading all the books he could about copywriting, and, wrote that site and got paid, he said, 200 pounds for it. And this was smart, I thought. Figured if he paid me 200 pounds to do something I love, that means that everybody else he inquired, like professionals, were trying to charge, a lot more than that, probably 2,000 pounds. And so, that means there's good money in this. And so I want to pursue this. And that's how he came to becoming a freelance copywriter, right? And it was similar for me when I started out, and what it made me think of reading all these stories and where people get stuck is having a purpose. What are you writing for, man? Like, we can only practice so much, especially like alone at the kitchen table or trying to grab free time wherever you get it. I was talking to Annie Bay Gal in one of these back and forths, and she was talking about that. Like, she's so excited, on fire for copywriting and blog writing and everything. She's like, every spare minute she gets, she sits down and she writes. It's her passion. And she's tired of bagels. And so, but what is the purpose, right? You can only practice so long. You can only hand copy so long. You can only guess if what you're doing is effective for so long. And the most purposeful thing you can have when it comes to, writing for a reason is thinking about getting some client work. That's what we all want. If we fall in love with copywriting, the next thought is, how can I get paid for this? Can this be my living? And so, like, in cases, say, like Mike Lucas, we've talked about this on some podcasts, it just kind of happened to him, right? He was blogging about something he was passionate about, which is oddly enough the Cleveland Browns. I don't know. The guy's not fully right, but he was, I can't even look at the comments right now because I know he's going off. He was writing about the Cleveland Browns all the time because he loves pain. And people noticed, and they came to him and said, "Hey, dig your writing. We want more stuff about the Browns because we're weird too. We'll pay you to do it." And so, wow. Never even thought of that. Now he's got a purpose to write about the Browns, sadly enough. And so, what is the purpose? How does that spark happen? And that's what Escape Velocity is about. So, the course is not, hey, here's how to get clients only, like, here's how to do cold outreach. Here's how to blah, 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 blah. it's not just about selling the product. It's about building up to a point where you are confident to go sell the product, right? And that begins with writing with a purpose. The purpose is to sell your work, to sell yourself as somebody with money skills, who should be in demand, who should call the shots in their own life, in their own business. What is the process to that? Where does that begin and end so that you can actually reach that escape velocity, get liftoff in your career, and then start to create what we call good problems, right? Once you prove the model and start working, and you can do that over and over, that's a really critical place right there. That's where you'll get stuck if you're not careful. You get escape velocity, you know you can get paid, you're getting referrals, you're getting repeat customers, you're working, you got some steady flow going, and that's where it gets super dangerous if you don't have a plan for how to raise your fees, how to find better clients, right? Don't get stuck in prove the model phase. I've seen people stay for years stuck at the same prices. They're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually getting paid for this. I just want to not stop getting paid for this. And they don't advance. Escape velocity is all about having a plan to get to the point where you have the skills that are worth money. People can clearly see that. They're happy to engage you on that level. And then from there, what do you do to get to the next level? And that's transitions into Real Free Life, RFL, and other things. But escape velocity, phase 0 through 3.